Charlie Munger died with $2.6 billion in his account. Not because he was the smartest man in the room. He said so himself. He said, "I'm not smart enough to be consistently right." One of the greatest investors in human history did not win by being brilliant. So I invented a system to be consistently less wrong. Think about that for a second. He won by building a mental architecture that prevented stupidity. Most people get this completely backwards. They spend their lives trying to become smarter. More information, more courses, more books, more hustle. And they still end up financially mediocre. Not because they weren't intelligent enough. Because they were intelligent in the wrong direction.
There is a pattern here that almost nobody talks about. And Munger saw it so clearly he spent decades documenting why.
And the answer starts with a single concept Munger called the most dangerous thing a human mind can do to itself. Munger was not a conventional thinker. He read psychology, history, biology, physics, and then he applied all of it to money. His core belief was radical.
Most financial failure is not caused by lack of information. It's caused by mental models that were never designed to handle modern complexity.
The human brain evolved to survive a jungle. It did not evolve to navigate a stock market. This mismatch between the brain you were born with and the financial world you operate in is the source of almost every bad decision. Munger called this collection of built-in distortions the psychology of human misjudgment. He identified 25 cognitive tendencies that predictably destroy rational thinking. The smarter you are, the more dangerous some of these tendencies become. Because intelligence doesn't protect you from these patterns. In most cases, intelligence amplifies them. This is not a metaphor. This is a measurable phenomenon. The Lollapalooza effect occurs when multiple psychological biases activate simultaneously, all pushing in the same direction. Munger called it the Lollapalooza effect. It sounds almost absurd, but what it describes is anything but. Individually, each bias creates a small distortion. Combined, they create a complete shutdown of rational thought. A low-information person might pause. A highly intelligent person will build a fully rational-sounding argument for exactly the wrong decision, convincing themselves completely. In real time, he watched brilliant people, Ivy League degrees, decades of experience, walk directly into catastrophic decisions. Not despite their intelligence, because of it. They became expert rationalizers of their own destruction. This is the first principle of Munger's diagnosis. Your intelligence is not a shield against psychological bias. In high-stakes situations, your intelligence is a weapon your biases use against you. A person finds an investment opportunity, something that aligns with their existing beliefs.
Bias 1, availability heuristic, your information. Bias 2, confirmation bias.
Now they're talking to people about it. Bias 3, social proof. If smart people around me agree, the logic must be sound. They commit capital. The investment underperforms. Bias 4, commitment and consistency. They've built an identity around being right about this thesis. Admitting the error would be psychologically unbearable. Bias 5, deprival superreaction. The threat of loss, 5 biases, all pointing the same direction, all amplifying each other. This is the Lollapalooza. The mind goes into override. Rational analysis becomes structurally impossible. Munger's point was chilling. You cannot think your way out of this while you are inside it. Prevention is the only strategy. Most frameworks tell you, build a plan, execute, optimize. Munger said, figure out how to fail, then don't do that. He called it inversion, borrowed from the mathematician Carl Jacobi. Invert, always invert. Not how do I build wealth, but what are all the ways a person systematically destroys wealth? Not how do I make good decisions. 1. Continuous debt for consumption. Lifestyle debt. The kind that compounds against you invisibly. 2. Envy-driven spending. Matching the visible consumption of peers, regardless of your actual financial position. 3. Ignoring second-order consequences. seeing only the immediate effect of a decision, never the ripple. 4. Intense ideological conviction applied to financial markets, when belief systems override data, every time.
If you cannot identify which of these you are currently running fresh, you are already inside one.
These are not moral failings, not character flaws. They are predictable psychological patterns. 5. Refusing to update on new information because updating feels like losing. There is a reason Munger read so widely across disciplines. It wasn't intellectual vanity. It was architecture. He was building what he called a latticework of mental models. A single mental model applied to every problem is one of the most dangerous cognitive patterns a person can develop. He called this man with a hammer syndrome. A person with only one lens sees only the fragment of reality that lens captures, then makes decisions based on that fragment as if it were the whole picture. Real financial situations involve psychology and incentives and biology and game theory and history, all simultaneously. Munger's solution was to build at least one working mental model from every major discipline. Not expert level, working level. The very smart person knows a lot about one thing. The first-rate thinker knows a little about everything that matters, and knows exactly which thing to apply to the problem in front of them. This is not a skill most education systems teach, which is precisely why most highly educated people remain financially mediocre. The emotional response to financial threat is neurologically faster than the rational response. Your rational mind is now working backwards from a decision that has already been emotionally made. This is not occasionally true. This is the default operating mode for the vast majority of financial decisions. The solution is not to control your emotions. That instruction is functionally useless. Emotions are faster than instructions.
The solution is to pre-decide. Structure your financial life such that the emotional trigger cannot reach the asset before the rational framework has been applied.
He waited for a very long time for the specific situation where his lattice work gave him an edge, and then he moved.
It's a system, not hustle, not information, not intelligence, structure, patience, pre-decided rules applied before emotion enters the room.
Most people will never build this system, because the financial content they consume never tells them it needs to exist.
Now you know it exists.
His final position. Most people were structurally unprepared, not because of intelligence, not because of effort, because of architecture. The architecture had been inherited from education systems. Not if you haven't mapped your own failure modes. Not if you haven't built the lattice work.
You cannot win a modern financial game with a prehistoric mind. Not if you haven't deliberately upgraded the architecture.
Most people will read this, feel a moment of clarity, and change nothing. Changing the architecture requires confronting the specific ways your current architecture has already failed you. That confrontation is uncomfortable. Most minds will generate a reason to avoid it. That avoidance response is itself a cognitive bias Munger documented. He saw it everywhere. The mind protecting itself from the knowledge of its own limitations. He called it the most human thing he'd ever observed. The question is not whether this is happening to you. The question is, when will you stop letting it?